This is a video production of the UCCE Master Gardeners of Amador County. Hi, this is Ed from the Amador County Master Gardeners. I just finished building this raised bed, and now it's time to fill it with compost. I'm guessing it's about 40 cubic feet, or say a yard and a half. Now if I was to buy that bag stuff of compost, so it cost me maybe 120, or the high end it goes up from there, it could cost me upwards of $200, $250 to fill this with compost. Well, I'm not going to spend that much. I'm going to make use of a concept called hugelkultur, where I'm going to fill the bottom part of this with logs and other wood waste. Here's a wheelbarrow of, I don't know what that is, a willow or an aspen, and a couple of pieces of oak. So now I've filled this space with as much wood as I could find in my yard. I've got firewood that's too rotten to burn, little chunks of wood that I've cut off of various trees in my yard, even some cardboard that was just too dirty to recycle. Next thing I need to do is cover this with some compost and dirt. I need to fill in the void so there's not any empty space for critters to make habitat in or whatever. So I'm going to cover it first with some compost that I have, which is not completely composted, and that'll be on the bottom. And then I've got some dirt and some better compost. The idea is to put the best compost at the top. Well, let me get to work. Alright, check out this compost. I started this a little more than a week ago. It's nice and gray and hot in the middle. Ooh, it's pretty hot. But the hot part is only just the top layer of this, maybe a bushel. So I don't have a huge amount, and it's not totally composted. However, it'll do nicely for what I want in my raised bed. This other stuff here is maybe a month old, and it's pretty well composted, but again, it's not great for planting in. So I'm going to also use that in my raised bed. So here's my bed now with a few baskets full of compost. I've got a lot more room to go and more compost to add. Next I'm going to add some mineral soil that I got when I excavated this hole. This is some soil that I separated the soil from the rock. Around here when you dig a hole there's mostly rock, and I sifted out the rock from the soil in order to get a base for my blocks. So sort of a do-it-yourself road base. So I'll put some of that soil back in and do a fine layer of the soil and a fine layer of the compost and keep doing that. But I've got one more thing I want to add, and that's a lavender bush that's dying. Come take a look. This lavender bush is in pretty sad shape. You can see a lot of dead spots in it. Well, sometimes you can't rescue a plant. It's just time to cut their heads off. Start over. That's what I'm going to do with this. But before, instead of putting it into the green waste, he's going into the hugelkultur. Now I've added the chopped up lavender bush to my raised bed, and where it'll slowly decompose underneath the layers of compost that I'm about to add on top. From here on out, it's just going to be compost, soil, alternating layers, more compost and soil. And I've got a couple different kinds of compost to put in there. So we've added a little compost, and here's some soil added. I walk on it between layers to just help force the material down in between where the voids are between the wood. So I walk on it between every single layer. Now I've just added a layer of my own homemade compost. I've added soil on top of the compost now. We're about 60% full, so still got a long ways to go. I wanted to show you what a bag looks like. This is a 3 cubic feet bag, and you can see, I estimated it would take 13 of those bags to fill this up, but that would have cost about $130, and that's just for the cheap stuff. If you want good stuff, you'll pay even more. So are you composting at home? Look at this beautiful compost that I've got just from saving my own yard scraps. Well, since the last clip, I've added a layer of the bought stuff, a layer of my compost, a layer of soil, and another layer of the bought stuff. I was hoping it was going to rain last night, but it didn't, so I'm going to wet this down really good because I want it to settle in a little bit more, and it's better if this material is wet so your bed doesn't become hydrophobic. So let me wet this down and then I'll add some more layers. Well, I finished filling my raised bed yesterday with alternating layers of compost and soil. It rained pretty good last night, so we are all ready when it's time to plant. The main thing I want you to get from this video is you don't have to go out and buy a yard of compost. The rotting logs and other plant materials at the bottom of this bed will slowly decay over a long period of time, releasing nutrients as they decay. And if you compost your garden waste, you will have some supply of compost when the need arises. This is Ed from the UCCE Master Gardeners of Amador County. Happy gardening.